Well, good evening, and we are back to the Spirit's book. We are studying Somnambulism. We started last week. Is a challenging subject. I'll try to go over what we discussed last week, the concept of somnambulism according to Spiritism. So first, somnambulism can be understood also in English as sleepwalking, as out-of-body experience, as astral projection. These are all synonyms of somnambulism in the English language. And again, I know one thing is different from the other, but they all fall under the umbrella of somnambulism as we study here in Spiritism, okay? So somnambulism is an out-of-body experience that the individual is in a sleep state, in a trance state, that we move away from the physical body in a much more conscious for the spirit way than in a dream state. We have experiences, we see things, we interact with things, with other spirits in the spiritual world, and we can report what we are seeing, experiencing. I gave the example of Edgar Cayce, the sleeping prophet, one of the most famous somnambulistic mediums in this country. And he started with giving prescriptions, and by the end of his life, he was making other premonitions and other experiences in the spiritual world that he was reporting. So we discussed a little bit the characteristics of a somnambulic trance. The spirit, the individual can report what they are seeing, can have a conversation with you. And actually, me and Elmo had some discussions last week, and I went a little bit further to understand better the sleepwalk state. So the spirit in a sleepwalk state interacts with other people, can interact with other people, but it is not, they are not in a conscious state, the physical body. The spirit is conscious in the spiritual world. It's using the physical body as an instrument, but not on a conscious level for the physical body. I was listening to a very interesting class by Dr. Alberto Almeida today on the subject, and he was reporting the story of a patient. He's a psychiatrist, and he had a patient, a man that was not a spiritist, that came to him and told him that his daughter one night woke up, didn't wake up, but he said she woke up, but she wasn't. She was in a somnambulic state. Daughter around the teenage years, pre-teenage years, sat by his bedside and started talking to him in a much more advanced way than she was, talking about things that she clearly didn't have knowledge in her present incarnation, and advising him on marital problems that he was having with his wife. He was actually having an affair, and his wife was affecting the marriage, and she had a very adult conversation with him about how he was damaging the family, and he was causing all sorts of heartbreak to the family. And he was, of course, astonished, And he went to Dr. Alberto Almeida to look for advice. And of course, Dr. Alberto Almeida explained to him that she was in a somnambulic state, and when you are in a somnambulic state, you access your, you can access your past or your inner self as an eternal spirit, and can retrieve information that is not available to you in your present incarnation. And that's what she was doing. And he said that the man completely changed his behavior and his life and got transformed by the experience he had with the daughter. Of course, next day she didn't remember anything, which is very interesting, right? So I think, Elmo, I'm going to bring you to the conversation here. I think what we discussed last week, if the person in a somnambulic, sleepwalking somnambulic state can interact with others, but it is not the person incarnated in a sense. I don't know if you understand the concept, and Elmo, help me here if you have a better explanation.
Oh, Joe, I don't think you need any more better explanation than what you already gave us. I think that explains everything what I said last week, that one differentiator of the somnambulism from the sleepwalking is exactly that the individual in a sleep and walk state is indeed in a state of sleep, but can interact with external stimuli. And that's just what you have said. Now, I didn't say there was conscious, because if it was conscious, then the person would be awake, right?
Yeah. No,
so
you never said it was
conscious.
conscious.
Yeah,
no.
So it has to be unconscious, but can interact with external stimuli. And when it was purely somnambulic, not sleepwalking, then that individual will not interact with the external stimuli.
Yeah, that's somnambulic mediumship, right? When you are in a sleep state and having a mediumistic experience, or mediumistic, because it's mediumship and anemic, right? A somnambulic state is an anemic state. You are acting out of your body. And we mentioned the psychics here last week, right? The psychics are in an anemic state. They go out in a trance. They go out of their physical body and have experiences in the spiritual world, and come back to report the experiences they have. This is a trance, a somnambulic state trance that may not be mediumship if you are not being the intermediary of the spiritual world. You are being yourself reporting what you are seeing in the spiritual world. This is the other side. It's the out-of-body experience, the astral projection that you know better in the English language, right? Because somnambulic here in the English language, you understand more as sleepwalking and not as out-of-body experience or astral projection. Okay.
And that's the example that we have in the domain of mediumship, Raul Castro, when he's able to leave his physical body and go to the spiritual world, and is able to relate his experience there using his physical body.
Yeah, actually, it's not Raul Castro. Raul Castro is the director of the meeting. I went to check.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I got the wrong name.
Yeah, it's another. I forgot the name of the medium, but Raul Castro is the director of the meeting, the incarnated director of the meeting.
Okay, it's one of them.
Yeah,
it's a male. I know it's a male, because the women, they are very well disciplined. They are much better meters than the guys.
Yeah, but it's interesting because one of the communication of the old guy, the blind guy in the domain of mediumship, you remember, that was a slave owner, and she is in a somnambulic mediumistic trance. They describe in the book. It's very interesting. I found it there today.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead, Paco.
Okay, I guess I'm able to grasp it, the somnambulic state. But my question is, the spirits, the other spirits in the spirit world, do they know that this spirit is in a somnambulic stage?
They
Or
if
they don't
they
know?
if they understand the process, if they know our spiritual nature, let's say André Luiz and his team, they would know, because if you understand, the spirit has the silver cord that is
Exactly.
visible. So if you pay attention, you'll see the silver cord and you know this is an incarnated spirit. But you need to know the concepts, right? Because if you don't know the concept, you are just seeing a spirit there with a tail, let's say, or whatever, and you don't know what it is. But if you understand the concept and you understand how the incarnated spirit presents itself in the spiritual world, yes, you'll definitely know who is awake and who is incarnated and who is discarnated.
I have a question also.
Yes, Philip.
Can you basically explain the term anemic as defined by Spiritism?
Anemic is what belongs to you. Okay, so if you go in a trance state to the spiritual world and you come back and you are telling me what you experienced there, you are not being the intermediary. You are using your anemic abilities. If a medium is giving a communication of their own, which is a problem that was discussed a lot in Brazil like 40, 50 years ago, and then they started dismissing as a problem. How much of the communication that the medium gives is anemic, meaning from themselves, and how much is from the spirit. There is always a participation of the medium in a communication. How much? 10%, 5%, 50%? It becomes a little more complicated. It becomes more anemic. Or like we had a medium that was always having the same type of spirit and the same type of communication from a past of 200 years ago, that he was in the middle of a battle, and he was always the same. So is his own anemic experience being brought from him through mediumship? Elmo, anything to add here? Because this is mediumship, it's your area also. Elmo? No.
That's
You're
okay.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I was muted. I think you explained everything. Anemics come from anima, from alma, or from the own incarnated spirit.
Yeah. So again, going back to the psychics, right? The psychics, when they are seeing things in the spiritual world, they are having an out-of-body experience, an astral projection, and coming back and telling telling what they are having. This is an anemic experience. Edgar Cayce, when he was doing the prescriptions,
Yes.
he may be having an anemic experience, or he may have been in contact with a doctor in the spiritual world and telling the prescriptions that the doctor is telling him. That's mediumship. So maybe one or the other, and I'm not sure. You don't really find any further information on his bio to know the difference. And because and then again, we touch the very delicate subject of charging, right? Theoretically, if you are using your own resources, you can charge because it's you. If you are being an intermediary of the spiritual world, you shouldn't charge because it's not you. You are just being the intermediary. That's why Francisco Xavier never received a penny for his 470 books. But a psychic, when the anemic experience stops and the mediumship experience starts. There is always a lot of mixtures. So it becomes a slippery slope, dangerous. You'll find Kardec talking about it in the Spiritist Review, about the mediums for hire. You'll find it in the Spiritist Review, in terms of healing mediums that use their own energies, and the discussion if it's okay to charge for it or not, and it's a much further discussion that is not here on the subject we're discussing here, but just for us to understand the anemic process. Anemic is you, like I almost said, anima, soul, alma, soul.
Thank
Okay?
you.
All right. Anyone else, or can we go back to the book? We haven't started the book yet.
Wow, that's true.
Yes, but I think it was important because it's a difficult subject, important for us to fully understand the concepts. And so the questions will, it will be easier for us to understand them now. Go ahead, Philip. Thank you.
431. What is the source of a somnambulist innate ideas, and how can they accurately discuss things that they are unaware of when awake and that transcend their intellectual capacity? Somnambulists may possess more knowledge than you give them credit for, but this knowledge is dormant when awake because their envelopes are too flawed to remember everything they know as spirits. However, what are they essentially? They are spirits who incarnated for a mission, and somnambulism awakens them from their lethargic state. We have repeatedly told you that we are reborn many times. This succession of lives caused somnambulists to lose sight in a new existence of what they may have known in a previous life. When a crisis starts, they recall what they knew once, but sometimes only partially. They have knowledge, but they do not know where it comes from or how they came to possess it. When the crisis is over, their memories fade from consciousness as they re-enter the physical life. Experience shows us that somnambulists also receive communications from other spirits who tell them what to say and fill in the blanks of what they are missing. This is often witnessed in medical consultations. The spirit of the somnambulist notes a disease and another spirit indicates the remedy required. This dual action is often obvious to witnesses and is frequently revealed by the somnambulist through expressions such as, "I am told to say," or "I am forbidden to say." In the event of the latter, it is always dangerous to persist in trying to obtain information from a somnambulist because we then open the door to flippant spirits who rattle on about everything in complete disregard for the truth.
Okay, so two things we discussed here, right? When I spoke about the young lady that had a conversation with the father, of course, she was accessing her past knowledge that she had from previous life that was not present in this existence. It may be present later because she's a young girl, but not necessarily. So the good news here is that we all have more intellectual abilities than we are presenting in this incarnation, because we don't bring everything. We don't have any more moral qualities on the other side that we are presenting here, because we bring everything on the moral side in this incarnation. So a somnambulist that is going to bring knowledge, if necessary, from a previous existence. And when a crisis starts, this is exactly what happens with young girl, right? She had a crisis in the family, and in a somnambulic state, she went there to have a conversation with the father who was responsible for the family crisis and was able to help them overcome. Okay, so again, she doesn't remember anything when she wakes up. As they say here, the memories fade from consciousness, because when you are in a somnambulic state, the physical body is not registering what's happening when you are in the spiritual world. Are there exceptions? Yes. More evolved spirits have the ability to remember some of their somnambulic experiences, right? I learned that today through Alberto Almeida also, again. So less evolved spirits, unlikely. Again, we're not going to say never here, but unlikely. More evolved spirits, possible. And then on the commentary by Kardec, it goes back to what we talked about Edgar Cayce, right? Medical consultations. The spirit of the somnambulism notes a disease and another spirit indicates the remedy required. That's very possible what Edgar Cayce was doing if he was not doing the prescription himself, because he had more knowledge of the medical field in the spiritual world than he was presenting in his disincarnation. The healing mediums, that the famous ones that we know, will use a spirit on their spiritual surgeries and things like that, exactly in this trance state, that they enter in a somnambulic trance state, and the spirit that the Dr. Fritz of Dr. Arigó, which is a famous Brazilian healing medium in the 60s, that's exactly how the procedure goes. The famous John of God that went recently into trouble, that's how he performed his cures also, using a spirit through him. Okay, Luis.
Johnny, it's a minor point, but it's either a translation issue or I didn't understand well. The text says in English that somnambulists are spirits who incarnated for a mission. We know that not all of us have incarnated for a mission. Actually, just a few of us. And I went to check the Portuguese and the French translation. I had it open because of the ecstasy. And my understanding is that the Portuguese is very close to the French, and it says, what's a somnambulist? It's a spirit just like us, who is around here, you know, to fulfill his mission, but it's not someone who incarnated for a mission. So my question is, are all somnambulists spirits that have incarnated to fulfill a mission here?
Yeah, well, before I say no, I will say define mission, right? Because, you know, you can come with a mission of being of help to your family, make your family that are struggling to progress. So in that case, maybe, but I no, if the original doesn't say it, we're not going to say it. We're not going to use it. So if the original says that the incarnate, that, you know, it's not. And I thought about it, and then I forgot. I was looking something else. But yeah, it's a good point that you brought, because it's not.
Yeah.
Somnambulist is like mediums. Are mediums incarnated for a mission? No, they're incarnated to use their mediumship to their improvement and to help those that are in need, right?
I think the original sentence meant to tell us that they are spirits just like us, and the translation put emphasis on the mission. So that certainly would be a note for a future revision, my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. Okay.
That makes a big difference. That's very important. I have a question regarding the young lady about Alberta Meida's case. She was aware that the father was having an affair. Was she aware conscious or only at the somnambulic state? Do you know?
He didn't say.
And then my question would be, if it is only the somnambulic state, how can she get those informations? I don't have an answer. See if anyone would try to answer that question.
You know, I think that when you have you leave your physical body to the spiritual world, you can see beyond what's happening. You know, what's your own physical abilities can allow you to see. So I don't see a big issue in she finding out in the somnambulic state that the father is having an affair. But I think it makes more sense than she knew it before, that it was a family issue that was there out in the open. He didn't say that, but that's more of my impression.
Thank you. On another point, with the case of the medical remedies here, there is this famous case that Kardec reviews one of the magazines of this young boy who had this ability of make diagnosis and prescribe prescriptions for the diagnosis, right? Had no knowledge of medical in a conscious state, but when unconscious in a somnambulic state, he was able to look at the physical organs, and of course would have to have in his previous experience and his baggage as a tennis spirit, some medical knowledge to be able to identify normal versus abnormal and make diagnosis, and then you'd prescribe a prescription. In one of the sessions, he was only given the diagnosis and no prescriptions. So he was questioned, why is that? I mean, you always tell what's wrong and you tell us how to repair it, but now it only tell us what's wrong. And he said, oh, because my angel doctor is not here today. So he had the ability to make the diagnosis himself, but he had no idea how to prescribe. He had someone to tell him what to prescribe.
Yeah, I read about that. It's very interesting. The Spiritist Review again, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's when we talk about healing mediums, it's important to understand how they work, and this helps us understand much better how they work and how they perform, right? The medium may have this ability, this knowledge from a previous incarnation of, again, we have to remember the advances of medicine, right? So a medium like, you know, André Luiz, that was a doctor in the beginning of the 20th century, the evolution of medicine that he accompanied in the spiritual world is he can access that. But once he reincarnates and doesn't follow medicine, he stops there, right? So you may question where if he would have the present knowledge of medicine. But again, I'm just here thinking out loud, Elmo, for you to reflect on that also.
Oh yeah, I think, I mean, the physical body doesn't change much, but the ways of treatment changes, right? So the person may be able to make diagnosis, but now the treatment is completely different.
Exactly.
So it makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
432. How do you explain the power that some somnambulists possess to see from very far distances? Have we not told you that the soul transports itself during sleep? It does the same thing during somnambulism.
The next one.
Does the degree of symbolic clairvoyance depend on the physical makeup of the body or on the nature of the incarnate spirit? Both. But there are physical qualities that determine whether the spirit can free itself from matter more or less easily. So
first, the somnambulic, basically you leave your physical body in a resting state, and you go to the spiritual world. So you can go wherever, very far distance. You can enter into a somnambulic state in New York and see things that are happening in Europe, in Australia, wherever you want, even in the spiritual world, right? Because one thing, once you detach from your physical body, your spirit can go very far. Most of us, and we discussed this in dreams, right? We don't go very far from our physical body in our regular dream state. And the spirits that are not evolved in a somnambulic state also don't go very far in general, right? But it's possible to go very far. The second question deals more with the clairvoyance, the ability of seeing the spiritual world. Of course, it depends on the physical body. You have to have the ability to use this somnambulic state or medium mystic state or a state of mediumship to have the clairvoyance. So it's limited by your physical body. So when the spirits say the spirit can free itself from matter more or less easily, the physical qualities determine this. Is exactly the limitations of the physical body that allow a better or worse or no experience to enter in a somnambulic state, right? Luis.
Question. It is my understanding that a person in a somnambulic state not necessarily will interact with his physical body, not necessarily will interact with people around me. Is that around him? Is that correct?
Yes, that's the medium, the somnambulic mediumship, right? The body is at rest. The body is not sleepwalking.
Okay. How can I differentiate between deep sleep and a somnambulic state at rest?
A somnambulic state, the physical body is at rest, but the spirit is interacting with the external ambient. So Edgar Cayce, he was there sleeping, but he was dictating the prescriptions to his wife or his secretary, 3 people that did during his life. So when you are in a deep sleep, you are sleeping.
He was talking then.
Yeah, he was talking, exactly. But the thing here, what is this? It's not Edgar Cayce talking. Is the spirit of Edgar Cayce using Edgar Cayce's body to talk. It's important to understand the concept here. The spirit of Edgar Cayce has much more knowledge than Edgar Cayce incarnated. So he's using his physical body, Edgar Cayce's physical body, to communicate. Like in the beginning, they used the tables, they used for the turning tables, things like that. It's a complex concept, but we have to try to understand that the concept, if I enter into a somnambulic state and I'm talking to you, you are not talking to the incarnated João. You are talking to the eternal spirit, João, that has more information than the incarnated João.
No, I perfectly understand, Johnny, and you explain it very well. I'm just trying to precisely characterize or no, to precisely understand the defining characteristic of somnambulism against sleeping, and eventually we'll go into ecstasy. You know, this is a difficult thing for me because I've read of persons who enter into a somnambulic state, like during a consultation, a medical consultation, and they seem to be sleeping, but they are in a somnambulic trance. So it's clear that they are not sleeping, but I am not sure exactly what's the defining characteristic. When you have an emancipation of the body when you are asleep, and when you are in a somnambulic state. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, you're trying to understand it. Actually, you're trying to understand the difference between a sleep state and a somnambulic state, right?
Yeah, no communicating somnambulic state. I thought it was just that, you know, a somnambulic state, it's a deeper trance, a farther away emancipation of the body, more power, but I'm not sure if that's correct.
That's correct, yes. That's then a dream state, yes, is a much more, and the spirit is much more conscious of what of itself in a somnambulic state. In a dream state, you are not fully aware of yourself. The limitations of the physical body make an influence. In a somnambulic state, you are much more free from the physical body. The physical body in a state of lethargy, as they say in the beginning of the chapter.
Yeah, but I mean, that's sort of soft. I mean, we've read in André Luiz's book about people who go to classes during their sleep. So, and they're not in a somnambulic state, they are sleeping, they're attending to classes. I believe they are perfectly aware of that they are there as spirits. So I don't know if you understand, I find it sort of soft to distinguish between the three different kinds of emancipation of the body. But I don't want to hijack the session, the class today, sorry.
I think that the self-awareness that João is saying, and I agree 100% with him, is the self-awareness of I, Elmo, dreaming, self-aware of I, Elmo, and I, eternal spirit, playing the role of Elmo, more aware of being more than Elmo. In a dream, I'm very limited to Elmo. In a somnambulic state, I can expand myself beyond Elmo.
Okay.
Very good. That's a nice definition. Okay, may I? That's very good what you said. So actually, it's a degree of lucidity. Am I correct?
Yes.
Very
Yes.
good. Very good. Explained. Well, Elmo, thank you. That was
Yes,
excellent.
Carol.
Yeah.
Carol.
Yeah. Would it sort of infer that the perispirit is well educated and more pliable, and that it is more identified at that time with its spirit? So it's more fluid to do what it needs to do, to go where it needs to go, and is less encumbered. I don't know if that makes sense, but
Yeah, you know, the spirit, like I'm always explaining here, right? The spirit, when you are in a somnambulic state, the spirit, Elmo, eternal spirit, it has more knowledge than Elmo incarnated here. Yeah, we all have Elmo. It's the laws of progress. So there is no. We don't know more than we as eternal spirit. That's guaranteed. In this incarnation, we don't know more. We know less. The moral side is all with us, right?
Yeah, right.
But the
Just joking.
intellectual side, it's not. That's the spirits tells us. So we know more than we are showing in this incarnation here, right? But we don't know how much of this is useful to our progress or not, right? That's the question. But yes, Carol, the perispirit in that case would have a better, the connection with the spirit, let's say, is closer. It's not the right term, but you know, in what you said, right? But again, the perispirit is just the material instrument that the spirit acts on. The perispirit doesn't know more or doesn't know more or less than the physical body, because it's just matter. It doesn't think, or it doesn't. It's the spirit that when you are in a somnambulic state, the spirit has more access to its eternal state than when you are incarnated. You have access to your eternal spirit and knowledge. I hope it's kind of confusing, but I hope it was clear.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's move. Oh, yes, Danny. Just in time.
So I remember last class, we stopped right at the point where we realized we didn't understand anything. So that's why we're talking so much today. So somnambulic state is only during sleep.
It's a trance state, okay?
But it
in
happens
most
only
cases,
Yeah,
during the sleep.
no,
It's
most
only-
cases. Yeah.
It's only a state of the rest of the physical body, not necessarily sleep. Could be a trance, because sleep is one thing and trance is another, right? But the body must be at rest,
Okay.
which allow the
So-
spirit to go further out.
Unless you're sleepwalking.
So can this what you call astral projection or out of the body experience happen during the time that a person is active, and in that case would not be called somnambulic state?
No, no, I don't think so. You have to be in the trance. Okay.
As far as I understand, Danny, may I, Johnny?
Yeah, sure.
Johnny is absolutely correct, but it could happen to someone that I am here talking to you, and for a few seconds, I get into a trance and my perispirit goes away and come back. But it is a trance state. Either my spirit is here communicating with you or someone else. It could happen in a few seconds, but not both at the same time.
Yeah, it has to be in a trance. But again, and I just thought of something, right? You have out of body experience when you are in a coma, right? And coma is not a sleep state. The body is at rest.
Okay. Yeah, I shared this story here many years ago, which feels like almost another incarnation already. I was talking to a person, and we were walking on the streets in New York, and this person was sharing me, like she was sharing me an upsetting event that she had with another person. She was in a job interview, and then the person was very rude to her right there. And then she left that place very upset and really talking about, and she came right from that place when we met on the streets. And then while she was describing what happened, I saw it felt like a projection of the person right there next to us. And I described the person to her. Is that person short? She's blonde. She has this type of body, and she, like, everything of the person. And she said, my friend asked me, what, do you know this person? Have you seen her before? I never saw the person in my whole life. So was I projecting myself out of the body and seeing that person that she was talking about? Or maybe the person who was describing the event with a lot of emotions brought that image to me, you know, like, and sometimes that was one time that I know exactly how the person was, but that can happen sometimes when someone is talking about another person that I've never seen, and I have a sense of how the person looks like, and sometimes even the intentions of the person that is being described. So, but it's never on a restful state on my body, in my case.
Because that's not a somnambulic, but it's mediumship. You're a medium then. So Divaldo sees people, sees spirits, right? All the time. And he's not in a trance. He sees spirits. He has this open to the spiritual world. You are a medium. You have this ability that through your mediumship, and I'm not going to say this is clairvoyance or this is just you connecting with the mind of the person and seeing what the person is bringing, but this is not somnambulic state. Of course, you are not in a trance, but it is your mediumship.
My mediumship is not when we are in communication.
Yeah, it's yeah, it's a good point. So if you want to be picky, it's not calling mediumship, it's clairvoyance.
So right? Yeah, but it's for example, if I'm in a mediumship meeting, I don't see the spirits. I sense them, but I don't see projections of them like I see when I'm alert. The only time I saw projections of spirits when I was in mediumship was when I was in my first months of pregnancy. And then after I started seeing that, I decided to stop because it was scary. So it feels like a projection, you know, like it's different than the mediumship communication.
Yeah, but again, it's part of you being a medium is your seeing ability that you make. It may not be mediumship because mediumship is an intermediary, and you're right. So, but the seeing medium, it's not really a medium, right? You have the ability to see the spiritual world, but you are not being an intermediary of the spiritual world. But it is a type of mediumship. And if you want to be picky, you can call animism and not mediumship. Because it's you.
I don't mean to be picky.
No, I'm not saying. No, I'm saying for our study here. I'm not saying you. Yeah, no. I'm saying that because when we talk about mediumship, we talk about intermediary between the spiritual world and the physical world, and bringing messages from the spirits, right? When we talk about experiences that the definition of mediumship is an intermediary, Luis, right? So when you are
it depends. I believe the definition of mediumship is our ability to communicate with other spirits. I can argue that point. So what you are seeing was some sort of communication from whom, I don't know, who was projecting, because we're not talking here about seeing an ethereal spirit. We're talking here about her seeing an image that someone was projecting towards her. So I don't know who was projecting it. So I could argue the point that she was having a mediunic experience. I could argue that.
Medianimic, which is a mixture of both.
Could be anemic, could not be anemic, but I wouldn't, I could argue that point easily, I would say. Giving examples, including, if I were to be
Yeah,
picky.
the word medium literally means intermediary, right? But it's
Yes,
used
but
in a much more ample sense in Spiritism.
I challenge that particular phrase. Ostensive mediumship, we are all mediums, we all receive influences, we are prepared to say that inspiration is a form of mediumship. So I think that's arguable, Johnny, my personal opinion, if I might, we might agree to disagree, no problem.
Elmo, you. That's Prod Elmo, the teacher on mediumship.
A medium is someone who is able to interact with the spiritual dimension, not necessarily communicate. But that's why we are all mediums. That's why you all receive advice, guidance from the spiritual world, but we do not communicate. They send us their messages, and we take or don't take. You don't go into a discussion with them. Oh, why should I do this? Why should I not do that? Right. So we all interact, but not necessarily communicate. The more extensive mediums, they have the ability to interact on a higher level, then they can communicate. So I think mediumship is interaction, and you act as a medium when you communicate and brings their thoughts to the general public or to ourselves. Now, for Danny, a medium is a medium 24/7. You know, not only a medium when you sit in a mediumship meeting, right? You have that attribute. That it's not that you open and close, it's there. So when you enter in that communion of thought with your colleague, I believe there was an expansion of your perispiritual and that it was able to capture her thoughts. My guess, okay, and have that clear image. It's just a guess.
By the way, thank you so much. Excuse me. I love these discussions because it helps us to clear, just a moment. And I love this one. A medium is a medium 24/7. I'm going to use it. Sorry about it, but I'm going to use it. Great. Danny.
So it's perispirit to perispirit.
Yeah,
that's what we're saying. Like
that's my guess. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And in that encounter or meeting, maybe I could perceive the projection of the person that was in my friend's thoughts. Like
yes, exactly. Your
was
friend
probably seeing the
was
person.
mentalized that person so vividly, and when you expand your perispirit in contact to have perispirit, you received that picture, so to say, from her.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Thank you all. Oh yes, Carol.
Sorry. A general question, I guess a remote viewing would be completely out of this topic, right? I mean, that would be more psychic or clairvoyant, perhaps. Because I think people can be trained in it, I believe. I'm not sure, though.
No, I think that is another option also.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're going to see that further in this chapter. I think remote viewing. There's this second site, remote viewing. We're going to study this later in this chapter, very soon. Okay, we're not going to be free of these complex subjects anytime soon. And again, it's funny, right? We are studying this for the 6th, 7th time, Elmo. And we're still trying to learn, right?
And that's exactly what I was going to say. In about 3 or 4 years again, when we meet this again, it'd be like, you haven't learned anything yet.
Yeah. But it's always useful. We have 3 minutes left. I think we're going to stop here. We still have some questions to go on this, so we are going to come back to somnambulism one more week, and maybe we'll go into ecstatic trance that Luis was aiming for, and Elmo wanted to run away from it. But I'm going to go deeper into ecstatic trance to see if I can get more information. You know, I got a little bit from today from Dr. Alberto Almeida's presentation. It was a short presentation, a 25-minute presentation, but recent one, which was very, very good. Okay, so we stop here. So for this weekend, on Saturday, I invite you all, our good friend Edward Christie, you know them. He has been to our center many times. Many of you have the pleasure to study with him, and you know how he prepares for his lectures, right? And always very deep, profound study of the subjects. And he's a classical musician, and he's going to talk about Beethoven. Blessed are the afflicted, Beethoven's suffering, right? He said that Franklin wrote, in this world, nothing can be said to be certain except death and taxes. But what about suffering? Isn't it also true that in this world, it's certain that we'll suffer? What can we do when we suffer? How do we cope? These are common ways we have to endure suffering: living, mastering, using methods, and forgiving. By examining the remarkable life of Louis van Beethoven and his suffering, this talk will look at each of these ways. I'm absolutely sure that it's going to be an excellent subject, excellent presentation like Edward always gives to us. And for those that remember, he talked about St. Augustine, about Blaise Pascal, and they're all very interesting subjects. On Sunday, we are going to go back to the Gospel according to Spiritism. I think we are in without charities, there is no salvation, the topic that we're going to go to study more. On Sunday, the initiation into Spiritism at 10 a.m. I don't know exactly what's the subject this Sunday, I forgot. But I know that next Sunday will be the Q&A, and both me and Luis will be in the Q&A because it's the 4 presenters of these 4 presentations. So me, Luis, forgot her name now. Cynthia Fabretti will be there, and whoever is doing Saturdays, that I don't know exactly who's doing Saturdays. The book club Wednesday, chapter 7 of the book 2000 Years Ago. You know, I can see that the book is taking longer, right? Because there is a lot to discuss in this, talk about in these chapters. This is an excellent book, a very interesting book. This is Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Yes, Luis.
It seems like on the 20th, it's going to be the law of cause and effect, free will and progress. A lot of subjects, difficult subjects on one day. Lígia Carvalho will be presenting it.
Oh, so Julius Carvalho's wife, and she's one of the directors of the United States Spiritist Federation on the youth area. So I'm sure it's going to be.
The topic is neat. Yes, it's a very good topic.
Yeah. So this Sunday at 10 a.m. Okay. We reopened the center, right? We are open again on Mondays. If you want to join us any Monday, feel free to come. And Carol, can you do our final prayer?
Sure. Thank you so much. Infinite Creator, Supreme Intelligence, all goodness and grace, we are grateful this evening to be together for our study of the Spirit's book, our topic, Somnambulism, a very deep and very thorough and interesting topic in which we will continue to go into greater depth as we go forward. We are grateful to learn much more of the inner workings of this subject. We are grateful to be together this evening in unity as brothers and sisters, and we are grateful to have the opportunity to receive these teachings and learn step by step this intricate knowledge base. We give thanks to our spiritual benefactors, the good spirits, the helpers, the healers. We are grateful for our teachers who are here with us and those who are participating each week. We are never alone, and there is always an opportunity to grow, to learn, and to develop as we continue our studies. May, as we go forth now and close this meeting, we ask humbly for safety and protection, not only for ourselves, but for our loved ones, this community, those that we reach out to who are also sharing online, and also in the greater world. We know that our brothers and sisters in the world need our support. They need our love. They need our encouragement through prayer. And may we be vigilant in keeping our hearts and minds open to being of service each day. Charity is love in action, and we can all do a part of it. We can all play the unique role that we have. We can share our time, our talent, and our treasures. And through grace, we will understand how to do it best. And as we close, we humbly ask to receive the love, light, and peace of Christ within us, the love, the heartfelt love, which will open us to even greater service. We close now and ask to go forth in safety and to be protected, not only ourselves, but our family, friends, loved ones, and co-workers. Go now, please, in peace, reminding ourselves to be beacons of light. Be ever grateful for all the blessings that we have received and will continue to receive. Go forth now in peace. So be it.